this is about psychological defense mechanism of splitting or projection, or the Buddhists have a terms for these: aversion and attachment, the two projections. So one is the projection of the unpleasant experiences, so whatever we label unpleasant, and it's because we're looking through the world through these very negative or dark view, whatever we're perceiving, however we're perceiving the object. It could be people, it could be things. When we have a strong sense of disgust or hatred or anger, these are all negative projections. And Aaron Beck, who the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy, and the Dalai Lama agree that this negative projection is 90% at least totally mistaken. And then we can have also projection onto a pleasant object, something that we're labeling pleasant. It could be an object, it could be a person, it's that where we're viewing the world through unrealistic rose-colored glasses. So it's also an exaggeration, and it's also problematic. Not as bad as hatred, not necessarily. If you think about the oil wars and the greed, then greed can be as problematic or worse than the negative projection. These things are related. And both these projections arise from a mistaken view of self, from a mistaken view of I, from an exaggerated sense from a self-centered view, of an exaggerated sense of self-importance, or me being the center of the universe, and we're all the centers of our universes. Me, my, mine, ego. The Buddhists call this ignorance. This is a particular ignorance. It's not knowing how to run a computer. I guess I could take off the ignorance. Anyway, and here are these two projections arising from this mistaken view of self. The all good, us, my team. We want my team to win, my country, the best. And all bad is them, everything other than self. Okay, and both of these are unrealistic views. And I also have this public health model to heal violence, which I don't need to explain, but I'm just showing that these are the three root causes of all of the suffering. Violence, addiction, all arise from this projection, from this exaggerated view. And this is another way of conceptualizing that a self-centered, unempathic unhappiness is at one end of the spectrum, whereas an altruistic, compassionate, and empathic happiness is at the other end of the spectrum. And we're all somewhere along the middle, advancing hopefully towards one end, towards a lasting happiness, towards a realistic happiness, a realistic view of self and other, which has a proper perspective of ourselves as one of 8 billion people, not me as the center of the universe. And that's the end. The end. How do I unshare? Stop share. There we go. Okay. And where are you? I lost you.
We're here.
That's it.
Thanks for sharing.
See you. Yeah, thanks.
I don't know, Lou, if you find that useful or not, but maybe we can, some of those blocks, most of them fall into the negative projection or the unhappy projection, the unpleasant labeling. Just the, wow, I agree, or, the supportive one is the exaggerated. I don't know, I have to go through the list, but maybe helpful also. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead, Edwin.
Yeah, projection, what I'm hearing there is you have sort of a filter and you see the world through that filter and you project that filter onto other people is kind of the essence of it. It can be a positive filter, like, oh, everybody's bad in the world, everybody's in it for themselves, so you project that out to them. Or the other is, oh, everybody's wonderful, everybody's great, and that's just another filter. So there's I'm not quite sure what the non-filter approach. I don't know if we can be without some, maybe an empathic filter where we try to be sort of accurate to what the experience of the other is and accurate to what our real experience is.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be global. It can be to any instant. It can be, at this moment, I like my chocolate cake, but at piece number 3 or 4, I'm like, oh, sick of chocolate cake. So it can arise, the projection can be, oh, this is happiness. Oh, this is unhappiness. It just can arise also, doesn't necessarily global, but it can be the way you described, and that's fine.
What do you have to say to Edwin when he's saying what is the like if you were 100%, let's just say you were, okay, that you're way over there, that you have this total genuine pervasive happiness and empathetic way of being, like 100% or 99% or 90% or something. So what do you call that? Is it unfiltered or non-projection based, or I mean, how do you define that?
Realistic.
Realistic.
Yeah.
So what's the role of imagination in that?
I shared one time, the role of imagination is getting there. You fake it until you make it. It's the practice.
And how does that play out in an empathy circle?
Someone else want to answer?
Yeah, it means that if you can't actually sense what's going on in the other person, you reflect back their words because you can remember them. And you keep trying to sense into them. That's what I think.
Yeah, in terms of the empathy circle, it's like someone says, oh, I feel really happy. And then the person says, well, you're a real jerk, or something, right? They're projecting their judgment or whatever onto the other person instead of reflecting back, hey, I hear you're feeling happy. So, I mean, for me, that's what the projection aspect is you have something that you think is real and you just kind of say it out. And you don't know, it could be real, it could not be, but that's where the reflection comes in as sort of an error check on that.
Yeah, I just want to say one quick thing, Colin. So yeah, I understand reducing it to reflection. I mean, obviously there's reflection and there's inaccurate reflection, right? So, but I'm talking about more how I've seen this happen in empathy circles where someone will say something about, I believe this and I think this and this is what's happening for me. And then, that's reflected back somewhat accurately. Then the next person, maybe the person who was listening or maybe somebody else in the circle, starts saying, well, I don't really agree. I think this and I think that. And anybody who thinks this other thing is just, wrong or whatever. I see that's what's going on in the empathy circles. And so that's really my question. So that's projection, maybe, I don't know. I mean, like, I see it as empathy is something higher, something, it doesn't really matter what a person's saying. It has to do with that human to human connection and just getting into that connection. So it doesn't matter what they say. That's my kind of projection, I guess. So I just wondered, Janna, could you kind of explain that phenomena to me in the context of your presentation?
Yeah, that would be the self-centered. That would be connection. Connection would be that you're not just me, myself, and I, but there's at least two. That the universe consists of at least two. There's another. So that's connection. Connection is the opposite of the self-centered approach, the self-centered attitude. Connection is, you could say, the remedy. So therefore, the practice is beneficial. Everyone who's in an empathy circle is getting out of themselves, you could say, away from their self-grasping into being present for another.
So, I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Colin? I have something I want to say about, but if you have some, you had your hand. I thought...
a slightly different thread, so you can follow through for now. That's fine.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think for me, a really important stance in the empathy circle is to accept people where they are. And if they are full of judgment and full of self-centeredness, that's fine. Reflecting back the person's experience of where they are, that's the path to them being someplace else. Yeah, and so, yeah, I guess I just think that's important. So I believe that that's true. I believe that if a person is, angry, upset, self-involved, whatever, if you receive them where they are, and not only and try to understand what's going on with them, that they are so judgmental or so self-involved, and you try to reflect that back to them, not your judgment about it, but just where they actually are, that is taking steps towards them moving someplace else. Yeah, I just want to say that.
Right. I'm thinking about self-empathy. That's what's on my brain at the moment, because I'll be presenting my piece next week. I think that when we have this self-awareness, which is gained through being empathic towards ourselves, that we know what it is that we're feeling, and we know what it is that's coming up for us in terms of judgments, and we can just own that, and we don't project that out onto others. Then it's less likely that projection is going to happen if we're being empathic with ourselves. We practice that, we create that kind of space within us, this kind of open space within us, and it's more likely that we're going to hear accurately what the other person is saying, and our emotions aren't going to get caught up in all of that. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I'm glad that you're sharing some of your knowledge on Buddhist philosophy and all of that. I've just started reading this book by Thich Nhat Hanh on the heart of the Buddhist teaching. I'm not spiritual, but I'm going in that direction, and I think I shared this with you, Janna. I'm going to be going to a monastery in Kathmandu for a week on the topic of transforming emotions. So I'm super interested to find out what the Buddhist teachings are on that. And you seem to be touching on it there. Kopan that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about this the other week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this part of the journey, the spiritual journey. So, and just becoming this fuller person. Yeah.
Invite the monks to do an empathy circle.
Okay. Yeah.
See how good they are at listening. So yeah, be curious.
I don't know if there's going to be too much talking. I think there's going to be a vow of silence for a lot of time. But yeah.
I can say that we're getting there. We're getting there to sharing empathy circles with everybody, because I just shared empathy circles with FDCW, and FDCW is introducing universal education to increasing universal education in all of the FPMT centers around the world. There's like over 100, 130 or something centers worldwide.
What is that? FPMC?
That's FPMT. Kopan is FPMT. This FPMT is the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. It's Lama Sopa Rinpoche. You can explore. Anyway, FDCW is the other one. Just is the secular end. That's Wendy and me and many others. And just, yeah. So we're getting there. The empathy circles everywhere.
Well, great. Do you feel complete with that, Janna? Or is it you had something?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if that was beneficial or not.
Yeah,
Thank you, Janna. Yeah.
really appreciate it. Yay, Janna. Let's get those jazz hands up there.